Then question number 1, rhetorical device. Now in your head, you have to know what features are for the following rhetorical devices. All right. So in the first paragraph, you got to read for the first paragraph. Guys, do you see in line 3, they are in many ways just like archaeologists.
Is it B or D?
Very good. So B or D. Now, listen, you have to know the differences between simile and comparison. Just like a
simile.
Very good. Guys, 听好啊，的 compare and contrast is not even a type of a rhetorical device at all. Right? Rhetorical devices include, for example, like simile, metaphor, personification, irony, and also like a euphemism. Guys, you know what euphemism is? For example, irony and euphemism. This is what you can constantly see, and also analogy. All right, guys, look, actually there are more than this, but you need to be very familiar with them because they can be easily mixed up. Listen, do you know the difference between, let's say, simile and analogy? You know analogy, like you deal with the verbal analogy questions, right? So what's the difference between simile and analogy? Anyone can tell me? For example, let me give you one example. You tell me which one it belongs to. Life is like a stream. Analogy or simile?
Simile.
Very good. Let me give you another example. Listen. The moment I see you is like when my dog Kiki sees her favorite ball. Simile or analogy?
Simile.
She jumps on it.
Analogy.
Guys, listen. Now I need you to take notes. 听好啊. Okay, for example, if I compare one thing to the other, that is called a simile. All right? But if I compare one types of relationship to the other and also give a further explanation, that's called analogy. You got it? And euphemism, listen, euphemism, that means you try to soften the way when you have to say something harsh to people. Let me give you one example. Listen, for example, instead of calling people deaf, we say people with a hearing obstacle. Instead of calling people cheap, we say, well, someone is price sensitive. You see that? Instead of calling, for example, like you constantly get lost when you go somewhere, but instead of saying you have terrible sense of direction, I'd rather say in euphemism, like you don't have the best sense of direction, huh? You see what I mean? That is called a euphemism. All right? Okay, you have to know about it. You just don't want to hurt people's feeling by saying something very harsh bluntly. You better use euphemism. It's not being fake. It's being considerate. Okay, thoughtful. Okay, all right. And also, euphemism is used a lot in, for example, like in marketing, in the business, right? Okay, and also irony. You know what irony is? Okay, can anyone give me one example of irony? Can you identify irony when you read?
Isn't irony like when something happens but it's like really unexpected or something? I don't know.
Yeah, that could be the situational irony, right? Situational irony. That is, for example, remember I gave you this example, I think the last session, right? For example, in order to save money, I took a subway instead of taking taxi, right? For example, I took bus instead of taking subway. But it turned out that was the last bus I missed, so I had to take taxi. So my initial intention is to save money, but it turns out that I spend more money on taxi. All right, that is a situational irony. And also, guys, listen. For example, okay, if you have read the famous book, Pride and Prejudice, written by Jane Austen, in the very first chapter, in the first paragraph, it goes like, all wealthy men desperately want to get a wife. And then, you know what? For the rest of the story, it's all about how desperate women want to get married to a rich man. So this is called irony too. You see what I mean? All right. So you need to be able to identify all of them, especially when you go to grade 9 or up. Okay. All right. That's it. So this one, the answer should be simile. Look at the question 36. Again, this is the detailed question because I see the keyword successful writer. Okay. But back in the article, guys, go back to the previous page. Back in the article, you find that most of sentences starts from the perspective of readers. Do you see? Readers this, readers that, right? Except for the very last sentence of the passage. Guys, listen, 听好. Do you still remember one tip I told you before? I said for any questions, whenever you don't know about the answer, you always look at which sentence of the passage again? Which sentence? Ben?
Last sentence.
Very good. Perfect. Whenever you are not sure about the option or you're debating between the similar two options, or for example, for some detailed question, you don't know, or there is no way for you to find out the key nouns, okay? Whatever situation it is, you just look at the last sentence. Okay, so I read the last sentence. It's pretty long. Readers. Again, guys, listen. If you check out the feedback I gave you for your homework, I guess many of you got the feedback pretty similar. I said, when you read a sentence, I can feel you didn't focus on key nouns. You just read the whole sentence in general. That is wrong. This is how I read. Listen, when I read the last sentence, I underline readers, and then underline knowledge, key noun. And then I circle but to pay more attention to the sentence structure because I know the sentence after but is more important. That matters more. Okay? And then I underline rely on you. You actually means a writer. Okay? So you know the article is directly addressed to writer, the people who write. Okay? Rely on writers. And then I underline, guys, listen, information. I underline understanding, story. That's it. Okay, guys, for the last sentence, okay, the more important key nouns would be rely on writers, information, understanding. Am I right? Okay, so now, listen, now we got to evaluate the 5 options to see in which option you can find some key nouns that could possibly be the synonyms of either rely on you, information, or understanding. You see that? All right. So guys, first of all, when you look at E, starting from the bottom, you see share, conviction. Guys, look, conviction, you have to know what that means. Lots of people don't. That means a strong belief. Am I right? Okay. Strong belief. Okay. Did you see any concepts about sharing readers' belief? No. It's actually opposite with it, rely on you. You don't share readers' belief. You tell them what to believe. Am I right? Okay? So E is wrong. 的, ignore, shortcomings. Okay? Recall the key nouns you just underline. Rely on you. Information. Understanding. Are they related to anything like shortcomings? Problems? Weakness? No. All right? And then C, acknowledge readers' sophistication. Guys, look, don't you think C is kind of a paraphrase of the sentence before but? Look at the sentence before but. Readers, bring them knowledge. Guys, you see that? But as we know, grammatically speaking, right? So the sentence before but should be not important. Am I right? So C is wrong. Okay? Now you have A and B. B, challenge reader's belief. Okay? Did you see any negative words meaning challenge or similar synonym? No. Then you can only go with A. Anticipate reader's response. Guys, look, response is the only one that can be related to understanding. Rely on you, information, understanding. Guys, you see what I mean? Okay? So, again, by doing question 36, you have to tell yourself again, listen, we are not looking for the correct answer. We're looking for the best answer. I know this question actually, none of the answer looks perfect. It all looks pretty vague, right? But A is the only one that makes a little bit sense. You got it? All right. So the answer is A. Okay.